You turn the tap, the glass fills up, and you drink it.
Yeah, it's that simple.
Right. There is absolutely zero expectation of, like, mystery when you pour yourself a glass of water. It's just background noise to our daily
Oh,
survival.
Broly, we just want to hydrate.
Exactly. We don't stare into the glass looking for the secrets of the universe. We just want to quench our thirst. But when you examine that exact same glass through the dual lenses of modern molecular chemistry and, well, ancient Jewish mysticism, it completely transforms.
It really does. It stops being just a mundane liquid.
Right. You are no longer just looking at water. You are looking at a highly specific numerical code.
Yeah, it's a literal bridge.
Yeah.
A bridge between the microscopic physical world and the intangible nature of the human soul.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We are pulling from this really fascinating article by Rabbi Shlomo Azagui. It's titled The Bridge of 18, Water, Chemistry, and the Divine Soul.
And the mission today is to really explore the sheer brilliance of the Torah and its mystical systems. Because when you dig into these texts, you realize something wild.
Yeah.
Despite being thousands of years old, they were somehow way, way ahead of their time. I mean, they were actively mapping out fundamental truths about water and structure and life, literally millennia before the first microscope was even a concept.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the ancient mysticism, we first have to, like, ground ourselves in the hard modern science.
Right, the actual chemistry.
Exactly. We need to look at how we measure the building blocks of existence. Because counting the individual atoms in a glass of water is, well, it's impossible for the human brain to truly grasp.
Well, absolutely. A single drop holds what? Trillions upon trillions of molecules?
Yeah, so science needed a metric to deal with this invisible world, right? So chemists developed a unit, and they called it the mole.
And just to clarify for anyone who might be experiencing a sudden wave of high school chemistry anxiety right now.
That would be me.
Yeah, we are dealing with stoichiometry here. But it's not that scary. A mole is really just a mathematically defined number of particles. Specifically, it is Avogadro's number.
Which is approximately 602 sextillion particles, right?
Exactly. That is 602, followed by 21 zeros.
Which is a number so staggeringly large it essentially loses all meaning to a normal person. Like,
Yeah.
I can't picture that.
No one can really.
But I love thinking about the mole as, like, an atomic currency exchange rate.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it takes these unimaginably tiny atomic masses, and it basically converts them into tangible stuff you can actually pour into a measuring cup or, put on a kitchen scale.
That is the perfect way to visualize the mechanism. It is literally an exchange rate designed by scientists to make the math workable for us in the macro world.
Okay, so let's look at the specific currency of water then.
Right, so a single water molecule, H2O, it consists of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom.
And hydrogen is the lightest element in the universe.
Exactly, so it contributes 1 atomic mass unit, or AMU, per atom.
Right.
2 hydrogens give us 2 AMU.
Right.
And then oxygen is heavier. It contributes 16 AMU.
Yeah.
Add those together, and the fundamental unchangeable atomic mass of a single water molecule...
Exactly 18.
Exactly.
So a single molecule weighs 18 AMU. And because of how that exchange rate works, when a chemist gathers a full mole of water molecules, those 602 sextillion particles, their combined weight in our tangible macro world becomes exactly 18 grams.
Yep. And the physical harmony deepens even further here, because the density of liquid water is essentially 1 gram per milliliter.
Okay.
So those 18 grams of water occupy roughly 18 milliliters of space.
Okay, wait. I want to push back on something here.
Sure.
Because it is really easy to look at that and say, wow, what a magical cosmic coincidence that it all aligns perfectly at 18. But why does this specific number matter beyond just being a neat party trick for chemists? I mean, the mole was invented by humans.
It was, yeah.
Scientists specifically defined the mole so that an element's atomic mass would equal its weight in grams. The human math was designed to make that conversion seamless.
That is a crucial distinction. The conversion tool, the mole, is absolutely a human invention. We engineered the ruler.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that science views this precision as proof of an underlying order, because the thing we are measuring is not a human invention.
Water itself.
Exactly. The fact that the foundational compound required for life on this planet is built on an atomic weight of 18, the 2 AMU of hydrogen, and the 16 AMU of oxygen, that is an inherent unyielding law of the universe. The human math just allows us to observe it clearly.
And that unyielding law of 18 is where the modern laboratory suddenly collides with the ancient study hall.
Yes. This is where it gets really beautiful.
Because this brings us to the brilliance of the Torah's systems, specifically Kabbalah. Long before anyone was measuring 18 milliliters of H2O in a sterile beaker, ancient Jewish texts had already identified the specific numerical signature as the foundation of existence.
And they arrived at it through a completely different methodology. They used the Hebrew system of Gematria.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. In ancient Hebrew, the alphabet serves a dual purpose. Letters are not just phonetic sounds used to build words, they are also numerical values.
So the alphabet is literally a numbering system,
Exactly, meaning every word holds a specific mathematical weight.
which means reading a text isn't just about the narrative, right? It's about uncovering an underlying mathematical architecture.
That's spot on. And the Hebrew word for life is chai.
Chai, C-H-A-I.
Right. And chai consists of two letters, chet and yud. In the Gematria system, the letter chet carries a numerical value of 8,
Okay.
and the letter yud carries a value of 10. Combine them, and the word for life itself totals exactly 18.
Wow. Which explains why the number 18 permeates so much of Jewish culture.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere.
Like when people attend weddings or bar mitzvahs or even when they donate to charity, the monetary gifts are almost always given in multiples of 18. I always thought it was just some quirky cultural superstition.
Not at all. By giving 18 or 36 or 54, the giver is engaging in a deeply symbolic act. They are literally bestowing the blessing of life. They're handing the recipient chai.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Are the mystics saying this is a lucky coincidence, or is this proof that the universe actively encoded the signature of life into its most elemental liquid?
They absolutely believe it's encoded. Look at the brilliance of the Torah here. It recognized water as the vessel for divine energy and life millennia ago. It perfectly predicted the molecular weight discoveries of modern science.
Because water is the simplest, most fundamental compound required to sustain life. Like when astronomers look at exoplanets light years away, they aren't looking for complex ecosystems.
No, they are scanning for the chemical signature of water.
Right, and at its very atomic core, as modern chemistry proves, that life-giving compound fundamentally equals 18.
And for the Kabbalist, there is no such thing as a lucky coincidence. This alignment proves the profound interconnectedness of creation.
So how do they view water then?
Well, the mystics teach that the physical world is essentially an outer garment for spiritual realities. They view water not merely as a necessary physical matter, but as the outer garment of Cheeeesseed.
Cheesed. That's usually translated as like loving kindness, right?
Yeah, specifically the divine quality of limitless kindness pouring outward. Think about the nature of water in its purest form. It gives itself away entirely to sustain whatever it touches.
A microscopic cell needs it. A massive redwood tree needs it.
We need it. It pours outward without prejudice. The ancient texts teach that just as the physical body requires the 18 of water to survive, the soul requires the continuous flow of divine kindness to endure.
Okay, but if we are talking about water as pure, limitless kindness, I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because water isn't always kind. I mean, water is tsunamis. Water is flash floods. It can carve through solid rock and destroy entire cities. If water is just unbridled cheesed, how do the ancient systems account for its sheer destructive power?
That is the exact tension that Kabbalah addresses, and it serves as the perfect pivot to understanding the broader system. Unbridled, limitless giving is actually chaotic and destructive.
Because there's no limit to it.
Right. If I give a houseplant 100 gallons of water in a single day, I haven't sustained it, I've drowned it. For kindness to be life-giving, it must be paired with another divine attribute, Gematria.
And Gematria translates to strength or restraint, right? Like boundaries.
Precisely. Gematria is the channel, the riverbank, the measuring cup. It restrains the limitless flow of cheese so that it can actually be received without overwhelming the recipient.
Oh, I see.
The Torah's mystical framework insists that life only exists in the delicate balance between cheese and Gematria. And astonishingly, this spiritual triad maps flawlessly onto the physical mechanics of a water molecule.
Wait, are you talking about the molecular geometry, like the 2-to-1 ratio of the atom?
Exactly. Think about the physical shape of H2O is not a straight line. The two hydrogen atoms attach to the oxygen atom at a very specific angle, creating a V shape. And because oxygen has a stronger pull on the shared electrons, a concept called electronegativity, the oxygen end of the molecule becomes slightly negative and the hydrogen ends become slightly positive.
Oh, right. This makes water a polar molecule. It has a positive and a negative pole, almost like a tiny magnet.
Yes, and that polarity, allows water molecules to form hydrogen bonds with one another. The negative oxygen of one molecule attracts the positive hydrogen of the next.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, consider what happens when water freezes. In almost every other substance in the universe, molecules pack tightly together when they transition from a liquid to a solid state. They get denser, they sink.
But water does the exact opposite. Ice floats.
Because of that specific V-shape in those hydrogen bonds, as the temperature drops and water freezes, those bonds lock the molecules into a rigid, open hexagonal lattice.
And that structure takes up more space.
Exactly. This specific structure actually forces the molecules further apart than they were in a liquid state. The ice expands, its density drops, and it floats.
Which is crazy to think about, because if that one mechanical quirk didn't exist, our oceans and lakes would freeze from the bottom up.
Right. During the first major ice age, the oceans would have become solid blocks of ice. Every aquatic organism on Earth would have been crushed or frozen.
Life would have just ended.
Yeah. The physical traits of water, its high heat capacity stabilizing our climate, its cohesion allowing it to travel up the roots of a tree against gravity, the fact that ice floats, all of these miraculous properties exist solely because of that specific 2-to-1 geometric balance.
The oxygen pulling, the hydrogens holding.
Exactly. And the Kabbalistic mystic sees this triune structure as a reflection of the divine balance harmonizing to sustain the world.
So if water's physical traits, like ice floating, are just the physical manifestation of divine attributes like kindness and strength, does that mean when we study physics, we are actually just studying the mechanics of compassion?
That is a beautiful way to phrase it, yes. This proves the Torah's systems were so far ahead of their time. The spiritual triad of Chesed, providing the kindness, Gevurah, providing the strength, and the synthesis of those two creating Tiferet, which is beauty and harmony.
Wow.
It maps flawlessly onto the atomic geometry that allows life to exist on Earth.
But it's not just about a static number or a static shape, right? Because water sitting isolated in a glass eventually goes stale. It stagnates. The atomic weight might still be 18, but it loses its vitality. Life, like water, requires continuous movement.
Yes, we have to move from the math of water to the behavior of water. In Kabbalah, there's a very specific category called Mayim Chaim, which translates to living waters.
So what qualifies water as living in this context?
In Jewish law, for water to be considered Mayim Chaim, it must remain directly connected to a natural source, and it must flow continuously, like a bubbling spring emerging from the earth.
It has to be active.
Active, moving, and never severed from its origin.
So I can't just take a garden hose, fill up a plastic kiddie pool in my backyard, and declare it living water.
No, absolutely not. The moment it is disconnected from its source and contained in a static vessel, it loses that status. And the rules governing this are incredibly meticulous.
How meticulous are we talking?
Well, if a natural spring dries up even temporarily, some rabbinic traditions say if it stops flowing even once within 7 years, or others say within a 50-year jubilee cycle, it loses its sacred status.
Wait, really? If it stops flowing once in 50 years, it's done?
It loses its status as living waters, yeah. Life must persist.
That sounds almost impossible to track.
It sounds strict, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, you realize the profound truth they are preserving. Think about the scientific constant we discussed.
The 18 grams per mole.
Right. The molar mass of water is always 18 grams per mole. That is a physical constant. Now look at the spiritual constant. The unending flow of divine life force. Both represent permanence in motion.
Permanence in motion. I love that. And this concept of Mayim Chaim, it forms the absolute foundation for the mikvah, right? The Jewish ritual bath.
Yes, a mikvah must contain these living waters.
Because stepping into a mikvah isn't about physical cleaning. You don't take soap in there. It's about plugging your soul back into this uninterrupted 18-gram current of the universe. It's moving from separation to connection.
Beautifully said. Immersion signifies the dissolution of individuality into unity.
Yeah.
And emerging is a rebirth. It's the soul's ascent into chai, into life. You are immersing yourself in the physical manifestation of limitless kindness.
So we've discussed the weight, the flow, the geometry, but we need to bring all these concepts, science, gematria, and divine, flow into practical application for you, the listener.
Right, the ultimate metaphor.
Because the ancient sages didn't just study water, they used it to explain how to live.
They frequently point to the prophet Isaiah. In Isaiah 55.1, the text reads, "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters."
And the sages explain that water here is actually a metaphor for Torah.
Exactly. Divine wisdom itself. Just as the physical body cannot survive without water, the 18, the chai, the soul, cannot survive without Torah. Both act as the ultimate quencher of thirst.
And their reasoning relies on the actual physical behavior of water, right? Because water always obeys gravity. It flows from a high place to a low place. It naturally seeks out the lowest possible ground.
Yes, the Torah teaches that divine wisdom operates the exact same way. It descends from the highest realms to those who humble themselves to receive it.
Which completely inverts how society usually views getting smarter. We're taught you have to elevate yourself, climb the ladder, be the smartest person in the room, stand on the peak.
This raises an important question. How do we position ourselves to receive this wisdom? The brilliance of the Torah system is its demand for humility. You have to be the low ground for the water to reach you. Water won't flow up to the peak of a mountain. It gathers in the valley.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means reminding yourself that seeking knowledge isn't about ego. It's about humbling yourself, so wisdom naturally pools within you.
You have to make space for it.
Exactly. Let's wrap up this deep dive into the Bridge of 18. Because whether you are measuring 18 milliliters in a chemistry beaker or you're donating $18 to charity, you are tapping into the exact same ancient, brilliant truth.
The Torah mapped out the spiritual DNA of life millennia before we could measure its physical weight.
So the next time you pour a glass of water, look at it differently. It's not just hydration. It's a living spirit connecting heaven and earth, reminding you that the universe is not random, but deeply and purposefully interconnected.
And as you think about that, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Oh, please do.
If water is the literal, physical embodiment of divine kindness, cheesed constantly flowing to sustain life, what does that mean for human tears?
Oh, wow.
When we cry, whether in shattering grief or in overwhelming joy, are we essentially releasing our own living waters? Is it a physical manifestation of our soul attempting to connect back to the deepest compassionate flow of the universe?
That's something to think about.